Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Branny and I am one half of the Indecisive Readers. Today I am here to give you 10 recommendations for bisexual books or books with bisexual characters, one extra one and a couple that are on my TBR. The first book I want to recommend is actually the reason why I am filming this video when I am, and that is Who I Was With Her by Nita Tindall. This is a YA contemporary about a girl who has lost her secret girlfriend. She recently died in a car crash and she's mourning for a relationship that no one else knew she had because she wasn't ready to come out to anyone as bisexual. This book comes out on the 15th of September and I thought it was a really fun book and an interesting discussion on bisexuality. So a lot of books kind of focus on that coming out and it happens accidentally or it happens when it's not meant to, but in this book it kind of happens at the main character's own pace. It happens when she wants to, it happens slowly, it happens who she wants to, and I just thought it was very nice. It wasn't necessarily a happy book because obviously it does deal with a lot of grief, but I thought it was a really interesting book and I thought how the bisexuality was handled was really well. I also like the fact that she was bisexual going into her first gay relationship, but she is still very aware that she has liked men in the past and she will continue to like them, but she will also like women as well. The second book I would like to recommend is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This is a YA contemporary about a black girl who wants to run for prom queen but feels like she can't because she's not the usual prom queen winner. While she's campaigning to be prom queen, she meets and falls in like with one of the other candidates and you just get a really cute romance. Liz, the main character, is bisexual. She has liked other guys in the past and I just think the book itself is handled really well. Her relationship with guys and her relationship with her sexuality is really interesting and I would definitely recommend it if you wanted a light-hearted read and a happy romance and also just like a discussion on intersectionality in feminism. Following on from that, I would like to recommend the Heartstopper graphic novel series by Alice Oseman. This is just a cute, fluffy YA graphic novel series about two boys called Nick and Charlie who fall in love whilst they're at school. They are not the only gay people at their school. The whole group are filled with various people on the LGBTQ plus community and it's really nice to see them all together. It's a happy book and it's very nice. Charlie is gay and Nick is bisexual, and so a lot of the early books are spent with him discovering what his sexuality is, and it's really just nice that Charlie doesn't rush him to reach any conclusions. He just is happy to be in his company and to allow him to find those conclusions, and it was very satisfying to me to see him not necessarily be like, oh, I like guys and therefore I must be gay. He goes through a journey to work out that he is bisexual. The next book I want to recommend is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I didn't actually like this book. I rated it 3 stars, but I know that most other people really enjoy it. I know I'm very much in the minority for not enjoying it, but it is about a president's son and the grandson of the Queen of England, and they fall in love and it's an enemies to lovers romance, and yeah, a lot of people have really liked it. The president's son is bisexual going into his first gay relationship, and again it's interesting to see that journey he goes through and the conclusion he makes, also how accepting everyone else is around him, and then again just some discussions on intersectionality because he's not just white but also he's gay. There's discussions to be had. Another one that I didn't love but everyone else seems to have done is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is about a 50s film star who was renowned for marrying lots of men, and it turns out she had a secret girlfriend. Now, this is a really interesting portrayal of bisexuality. Whilst I didn't enjoy the book itself, I did love how the bisexuality was portrayed in this. I liked the fact that it was very clear that she did love men, but she just also happened to love this woman, and one wasn't more important than the other. It was just, it happened and they happened together, and I thought that was really interesting. And I liked the part in the book where Evelyn Hugo made sure that in her story that part of her wasn't erased, because the journalist who she has called upon to tell her story says, "So you're gay?" And she says, "No, I'm bisexual." I would like to say that that sounds very spoilery, but I feel like everyone knows it's bi or gay, and also sexuality isn't necessarily a spoiler, but I'm sorry if I've spoiled it for you. A historical fiction I really enjoyed recently was The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Waite. This is about one woman who wants to go into astronomy in a time when men are the only ones allowed in science, and she gets some financial support from a woman who has recently lost her husband but still has his money, and the two fall in love and have a relationship. And I really enjoyed it. I was surprised to enjoy this because it wasn't the usual kind of book I'd pick up, but I actually really enjoyed the relationship in it. It did seem quite quick, but it covered more time than I think we necessarily got to see in the book, and also it covered some really interesting topics on feminism and what's right to be a feminist or a woman, like what are the right things to do. But in terms of bisexuality, I thought it was really interesting because one of the women had been married in the past to men before and had enjoyed relationships with men before, but she was just allowed to take her own time and fall in love with a woman in this story. Another of my favourite books is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is a fantasy book about a queendom in which the whole safety of the world is relying on one woman's ability to give birth, but behind the scenes there are dragon riders, there are assassins and mages working, and it's just a very rich, chunky book. I'll admit it's a chunky book, but I really enjoyed it and I totally love the relationship in it. I'm on my second reread of it actually, and the more I read it, the more I fall in love with it. But the bisexual character in it is just so interesting because you hear all the time about the female-female romance in it, but one of the characters does have a relationship with a man before that, and I believe that relationship is just as heartfelt and just as genuine as the one with the woman. And I think it's a very interesting contrast, but also addition to the character. Another fantasy in this realm is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, but more specifically Godsgrave by Jay Kristoff, which is the second book in the Nevernight series. Nevernight follows a girl called Mia Corvair, who trains to be an assassin to kill the men that killed her father. So in the first one she is at an assassin school, and in the second one she is on another sort of mission to infiltrate the ranks of the guys who are evil. And there is a female-female romance in this that I didn't know about before I was reading it, and I thought it was really interesting once I got to it. But I thought Mia's character was great. We know, well, booksellers don't seem to know that it is an adult book, but it does focus around a young adult character. Mia is only 16 or 17, and so the fact that she gets to explore these other relationships, gets to explore a relationship with a woman, and gets to explore her sexuality, I think is really important. The fact that she's given that room to explore it in this book, because then you do get to remember that she is only young and hasn't had the time to explore all those relationships and feelings, especially because she has been so driven down the path of just murder. Another fantasy with a bisexual character I have is Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. This is about a princess who has magic which is banned in the kingdom she is betrothed to, and when she gets to that kingdom she actually starts to develop feelings for the sister of the man she is meant to marry. Whilst this wasn't my favourite book and I feel like the world itself was lacking, I thought the relationship was quite interesting and I thought the sister's bisexuality was interesting. It's not made a big thing, it just happens and it just exists. She has slept with men, and I don't know if she slept with women before, but she's quite confident in going into a relationship with a woman, and I just thought it was an interesting addition to this list and not one I usually hear about. The final book I have to recommend is The Devouring Grey by Kristin Lin Herman. This is a fantasy, kind of like Stranger Things, so if you enjoy that, you'll probably enjoy this. But it is like absolutely chock full of bisexual characters, which is a very weird thing to be saying. But I was reading it and 3 characters like actually come out as bisexual, and I just thought that was really great. It wasn't made a big thing, they were just there as bisexual characters, and I thought it was great. I thought how they were spoken to, how they were introduced was really well done, and I'm interested to see if anything kind of develops from that in the second book in the series. My kind of bonus one, because I was talking to Sam about this one, is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I haven't put this officially on because we were saying I don't know if there's any official kind of bisexuality, but there is kind of lots of fluidity in the sexuality in this book, which is a sci-fi where not a lot happens, and it's a lot of character building and world developing, and it's very interesting. But yeah, wasn't quite sure whether or not I could technically put it, but I'll mention it anyway. Before I leave this video, I would like to talk about 3 books that are on my TBR that I hope have some bisexual characters in. I am also going to Gaze the Word tomorrow or at some point this week, so hopefully there will be more on my TBR by the end of that. The first I have is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. Again, I believe this is kind of a not necessarily bisexual, but fluid sexuality, and so I'm interested to see what it is. It's a kind of dystopian fantasy. I think it's one that I don't know a lot about, but it is on my TBR for this month, so fingers crossed I'll get to it soon. Also on my TBR is Not Your Sidekick by C.B. Lee. This is, I don't know, I think it's a fantasy, but it was something I actually found in Gaze the Word in the bisexual category, and so it has been on my radar since then. The final one on my TBR is Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett, which is a YA contemporary about a girl with HIV who also happens to be bisexual, and it's about her falling in love whilst dealing with those things, and I think it sounds really interesting, and both of those are interesting topics to be covering in YA books and really, really important, so I'm glad to see they exist. So, I hope you enjoy some of these recommendations. I hope some of them are useful for you. I hope you find some new favourites in here, and yeah, let me know if there are any you think I should add to my list so I can make another one in the future. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, comment down below to let me know you're here, subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!